I have not filmed a reading wrap up in a while. Hey guys, it's Kimberlyn. Welcome back to my channel. For this video, we are going to be doing a reading wrap up. My last reading wrap up was a couple months ago, but this wrap up is going to be all the books that I read in April, May, and June. It's not a lot. It's a lot for, I guess, an average person, but it's not a lot for what I used to be reading. I used to read like 7, 8-ish books a month, but these are like 3 or 4 books a month, but it's not the worst. I was in a reading slump. I think there's one book that I DNF'd in the past 3 months. Without further ado, let's get started. I read 3 books in April. I read one romance book and 2 nonfiction self-help, like one was a memoir. The first book that I read was Girl Abroad by Elle Kennedy. This was a new release for her. I've never read an Elle Kennedy book, but I was very interested in this for some reason, even though I went into it knowing that it was a love triangle trope. It was this girl named Abby who went to go study abroad. She was expecting to move in with 3 girls, but turns out the 3 girls were guys. So she's in London and she's just exploring. The 2 love interests are one of the roommates and then a friend, and that friend has a girlfriend. So it was just a lot of red flag everywhere in this. To be honest, I have not thought about it. Maybe I've thought about it twice. I did rate this a 3-star and I will stand by that just because, I don't know, I haven't thought about it. It was very in the middle, but when I was reading it, I did enjoy it. And there was a little side plot of history going on, like actual social study history thing, and it was like she was also trying to solve this like mystery, quote unquote. Also, I want to say that if you follow my Goodreads, which if you don't, it is down below if you want to follow and keep up with my reading, I never change my ratings on there. I just change them in my head. If you see a rating on Goodreads and then if I talk about it on my channel and it's different, then sue me. The second book I read was All About Love by Bell Hooks. This actually took me 7-ish months to read because I only picked up this book when I really wanted to learn and had the motivation to read it and interest. As you can see, I tabbed a lot of things in here and I kind of already want to reread it and just like refresh my mind with it, or just like go through my tabs, reread it and annotate more. I really enjoyed this book. I never want to recommend these types of books because it's like everybody's gonna take something different with it. If you enjoy it and you learn something from it, then that is good, but if you don't, then you don't, then it's not for you. But for me, it was perfect for what I needed at the time. I'm not giving it a rating, but I do want to get back into reading this soon because it is a very short book and the writing is very simple, very easy, and you just get more insight. So there is that. Third and last book that I read in April was Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This is her memoir. I did tab it a lot as well. This isn't something I want to reread, specifically sit down, reread word for word everything just like I would want to for this book. This is more of I'd revisit it just to look back on my tabs and that's it. Because it's a memoir, I wasn't connecting too much, but there were some things where I was like, okay, yeah, very real, very good for what it was. I did not give this a rating either. I don't really have much to say. It is a memoir. I'm not going to rate someone's life, but there were very insightful things in there. Those were the 3 books that I read in April. And now we're gonna move on to May. The first book that I read in May, I actually started middle of April and then I finished it the very end of May, like 3 days before May ended, so it took me a little bit, and that was As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. I started this because I was like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm going to get into a reading slump. This is gonna get me out of it. This put me more into a reading slump. Like, girl, this is the 3rd book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I really liked the first book. The second book, not a huge fan of. So I was hearing a lot of great things about the 3rd one. To be honest, don't even remember a single thing that happened. I'm actually excited for the film adaptation that's going to come out sometime this year, I think. And I think the casting that they did for the film is just, it's so good. Like, it makes sense. Like, Pip is exactly who I was envisioning, but I was just getting irritated with her in this book, to be honest, and like just everything. It was coming to the point where I was like, y'all are just making this 18-year-old little girl solve a real life crime and now she is in like a life or death situation. I don't know, I just didn't enjoy this one as much. I did rate this a 3-star. Probably gonna go down to a 2 because girl, I couldn't name one thing that happened in this book. But I'm glad to have had finished this series. I also really love Pip and Ravi, so Next is the book that I did DNF, and that was The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. I only made it 3 chapters in. It is a soft DNF. I will want to get into this hopefully sometime soon. It just hasn't been on my radar to read. It is a slow burn. It is on Kindle too, so I'm more likely to pick it up because the font in here is so tiny. And Mariana Zapata books are kind of long-ish. I just wasn't really enjoying it, and I know that the main male character just doesn't stop talking about how built and strong and big he is. There's a whole page in like the 2nd chapter, him just talking about how strong he is. Like, okay, one and done is good. I don't know, it was just like unattractive, I guess. If you read this book, convince me to read it because it's not on my radar and I want it to be back on my radar. I just don't want to read it when I'm not in the mood to. The next book was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Oh, I love this book so much. Everybody was talking about it and everybody was saying like the most amazing things about it. The cover just sold me, first of all, and even like Abby Jimenez was saying that like people are gonna go into this thinking that it's a romance, but it is a lot more than that, and that is very true. Jacob is one of my... is that his name? Justin. Who's Jacob? Oh, he's in a different book. Okay, sorry. Justin is one of my favorite book boyfriends that I've ever read. The writing was just so good and the story itself was just... Oh, this follows Emma and Justin. They're both cursed. They have this love curse going on where they both will date somebody, and then when that breaks off, that person that they dated goes off to find their soulmate, the love of their life. Justin was talking about it on Reddit, and Emma found the Reddit post and DM'd him, was like, girl, I got the same issue going on. They started talking, kicking it off, and they were like, you know what? Maybe we should date each other and then break things off, and then the next person we date is going to be our soulmate. So they were like, we're going to cancel our curse out. And of course they end up actually falling in love with each other. But there's just so much more to the story where it kind of made me forget that the romance was even happening. You get more information about both of each other's past, and Emma has a very toxic relationship with her mother, and then Justin becomes the guardian of his 3 siblings, so you kind of see him take in a father figure. Normally I would hate a 3rd act breakup, but this one was like very necessary. I was not mad about at all. Perfect read of what I was needing after being in a slump for so long. Thank you, Abby Jimenez, so much. One of my favorite authors ever.
Hi. I never said my rating for this book. It is a 4.75, so very close to a 5-star. But the more that I think about it, it is leaning towards a 5-star, so it was just good. It was great.
The next book that I read in May, which is the last book that I read, was Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This is the novella to Powerless, so it's a very short little book. This follows the main female character in Powerless, her best friend. And I can't really talk about this too much just because it spoils the first book. It is taking place in the same timeline. It follows her best friend and kind of like her love situation that was happening and just her story. And it's making me really excited to dive into reading Reckless, which just came out, and I haven't bought it yet. I rated it a 4-star. I don't know, I really liked it when I was reading it, and I also did do a little bit of the audiobook too, but it is a novella, so it's like very short, and obviously it's just... okay, can I side rant? I'm not gonna say hate, it's just really annoying when you hear people talking about novellas and they're like, it went by too fast. Obviously, girl, obviously. It's a novella. It's supposed to go by fast. It is a 200-page fantasy book. Novellas are short AF. Of course they're gonna go by fast. They're just trying to tell the story as fast as possible. If you want a longer book, read a longer fantasy book. If Lauren Roberts wanted to make a longer story about Adina, then she would write a bigger book. But that just seems unnecessary because of what happened anyway to her. So, okay, so now we're gonna move on to the books that I read in June. The first book that I read in June was Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I was so excited about picking this up. Look at the cover. It's such a cute cover. Look at this. This is the first book in Elsie Silver's new series, the Rose Hill series. This follows Ford and Rosie. Ford is a billionaire. I rated this book a 3-star. Probably gonna be less than, just because I don't remember anything about it. I have not thought about this book. I have not sparked back interest into this book. I literally don't remember what this is about. It is kind of a single dad. This is also best friend's little sister. I don't know, it felt a lot more sexual than needed. Only sexual connection. Like, I really did not feel any chemistry or any spark, but I am excited to continue the series. It just wasn't my favorite book that I read. I kind of got bored. It was coming to that point where I just wanted to power through, and when it comes to the point of wanting to power through a book, that's when you know the next book. This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. This is a new release. I read a lot of new releases and I'm still continuing to read a lot of new releases, so very exciting. I've never read a Carly Fortune book. This is my first book by her. Her other two, never had any interest into reading it. This one, someone was talking about it in a book video and I was like, okay, it sounds pretty good. This follows Lucy and Felix. This is brother's best friend, but it was very interesting how Carly Fortune decided to do the trope because they had no idea who the other person was. They did not know that they had a middle person, the sister and the best friend, like in common. This does take place in Prince Edward Island, which felt like the perfect place. I just envisioned everything so perfectly. I loved the setting. I loved the way that she wrote it. Lucy basically was taking a flight there and she was waiting for her best friend. She had like a layover, I guess. While she was waiting, she met Felix. They hit it off and he was like, I'll take you around to explore. They ended up having a one-night stand, which I know like kind of contradicts what I was saying, how like, oh, it just seems like sexual tension in this book, and like, and this book just started off straight away with a one-night stand. But it was different, okay? Different story, different situation, whatever. Then they started to realize like who the other person was, and you kind of do get more of a friendship aspect in this with Lucy and her best friend Bridget, because Bridget is gonna get married and she flees off to Toronto and she's like having this crisis with her marriage, but you don't know why. Like, you don't know what happened as a reader, and as Lucy, she does not know either, and Felix does not know either, so it kind of builds more of a strong friendship when you read it. The third act breakup that happened in here, I normally, like I said before, would hate in books, but this was so necessary, and I rated this book a 5-star just for the vibes. Like, it wasn't, I don't think about this book like every single day like some of my other 5-star reads, but this book, like the vibes, like when I do think about it, I'm like fully immersed into the story. I know exactly where I was when I was reading it, and I loved it so much. It was exactly what I needed. Perfect summer romance. The third book that I read in June, I read on my Kindle, and that was Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth, and it is a mystery thriller. I felt like I needed to read some. Guys, it's getting really hot. It's freaking 90 degrees right now and I'm wearing this. This follows 3 girls, Jessica, Nora, and Alicia. They were foster children. They all lived in the same foster home with a crazy foster mother. She was very strict, she was very weird, always doing iffy things, had iffy rules. Years later, once they have fully grown up, a body has been discovered underneath the foster home. The story kind of dictates to see like, okay, are the 3 girls witnesses of whoever this body is, or are they suspects? And you kind of just follow through with that. I was very intrigued the first half, and then like kind of once things started to unfold, I was just kind of like, okay, not what I was expecting, but still very interesting nonetheless.
I forgot to rate the book again, but it was a 3.5. It was a 3.25.
Last book that I read in June was One by One by Frida McFadden. For some reason, don't know why I picked up this book. I literally bought it at Target and I was very interested in reading it, and then ended up rating it not the best rating. Haven't thought about this book, really did not like reading it. Claire, the main character, annoying as hell. This follows Claire and 5 people, 6 including her. They all go and take this little vacation to just get away. Her and her husband are having a little bit of issues, but he's on the trip as well. As they're driving, all 6 of them, the car breaks down, they're stuck in the middle of the woods, away from civilization, have no service, and then one by one, they all die. Something happens to them. They're trying to figure out who in the group is doing it, like what is going on. Plot twist for this, I was just like, oh, okay, interesting. I feel like I wasted my time reading this, to be honest. I did rate it a 2-star. It just wasn't my favorite Frida book. I had no interest and I was getting kind of bored. That's all I can really say about it. 2-star. So these were all the books that I read in April, May, and June, but I'm very excited to continue reading. Hopefully I can get back into consistently reading more. Right now I have not been on a reading kick. I've read 1 book in July. Right now when I'm filming this, it's the 6th, and I think you're seeing this on the 7th, so because I've been addicted to watching Love Island and I've been binging it and trying to catch up. So I have not been reading a lot of books that I'm very excited to read, and I want to read them before summer ends. Stay in the summer vibe forever. And it's also been really freaking hot in California where I can't even breathe. Like, I'm sweating so bad right now. It's getting worse. I want to take my makeup off right now. I'm melting. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this reading wrap up. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I hopefully will see you guys in the next one. Bye!